Welcome back to the Event House channel, your home for all things hospitality. I'm your host, Jill Goldfine. This is part 3 of our series about our hospitality industry returning to the workforce. You don't want to miss this series, so be sure to subscribe, like, and share our channel. It's great to see our industry bouncing back from such a difficult year. Jobs are becoming available and people want to work. So how do we match you up? We're going to give you some tools to do just that. Today, you'll hear from Jeremy Nichols about his inspiring story in hospitality and lots of tips on how to nail an interview, both virtually and in person. I hope you find his story inspiring and his tips really helpful. So, let's get started. I would like to start with a little bit of your professional background.
I own and operate a franchise. It's Gecko Hospitality. It's a hospitality recruiting firm. I own and operate the state of Florida. So I recruit for hotels, resorts, clubs, and I also do restaurants. And since I'm in Florida, I do Caribbean searches as well. And I've been doing consulting and headhunting for 4 years. I started in 2017. So yeah, right when the pandemic hit, I was full force into recruiting.
Well, then that brings us to 2020. And could you let me know, how you were affected by that and the lockdown?
So I'm blessed. I thought 2020, there's like a lot of good that came out of 2020 for me and my desk, a lot. I had a moment where prior to everything kind of hitting the fan, I had like that whole moment of like curling up in fetal position on the floor like a baby and wanting to cry because I went from a whole deck of job orders and all my recruiters had plenty of searches and then it just washed away. But we still came out of 2020 matching 19. A lot of it had to do with just genuinely being empathetic and helping people without anticipating a return. So huge and staying positive. So at that moment when I was, like I said, on the floor, almost like in fetal position, like those few minutes, I popped up and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to complain about it and grovel and be upset? Or am I going to get super competitive and figure this out and, turn, lemonade out of the lemons, right? Make lemonade out of lemons, right?
Yes.
So that's what I did. And I just took the time and I sent out mass emails to like any client I had and to all my database. And I said, hey, if you're affected by the pandemic, give me a call. I'll jump on the phone with you.
Okay.
So that's what happened. And I spent months just jumping on the phone and consulting for free, no charge.
Wow.
And
okay.
That's literally what I did. So I wasn't making any money there.
Okay.
So I was on these calls. I was spending like 10, 12 hours a day, half an hour calls with everybody. Long story short, I was doing this and then a colleague of mine, I have a couple of accountability buddies and I would meet with them weekly. And one of them is a recruiter headhunter in a totally different industry. So he was fine. He wasn't really fazed by it. He told me, why don't you start charging for it. Right. So, I said, I can't do that. Our industry is like really, really hurt. So instead of doing that, I opened up a YouTube channel because I could answer FAQs and any of the questions that people were asking me on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I could answer on the YouTube channel. So because I was just spending so much time and I wasn't able to make money at the time. So from there, I made the YouTube channel, and that's why my YouTube channel is very focused on, candidates and recruiters and navigating the hiring market. And that's exactly why it was started. So I had an accountability buddy who was in a different industry, who was making a ton of money. Didn't really matter. The market did not faze him at all. And I remember calling him for advice because I was like spending all this time, like 10, 12 hours a day, helping people. And I wasn't able to go recruit, right? And I needed to do business development. I needed to build my business and I needed to make money, right? And it was months of this. So he says, well, why don't you charge them? And I said, I can't do that the industry's been hurt so much. I can't charge people. That's just, I'm not going to do it. And he's like, well, why not? You know, charge a couple $100. You know, I'm like, you don't understand like how bad it is. Like your world, you're fine, but like our hospitality's been like demolished. I'm not doing that. So he said, he's the one that said, well, why don't you open up a YouTube channel and automate it? And I'm like, I can't automate, you know, my answers. And he's like, well, yes, you can. They're asking the same thing every day, aren't they? I'm like, well, yeah, theoretically, yeah. It's okay. Well, start putting videos out. When they ask you, what are the top 3 things I got to know in an interview? Or what do I got to know about video interviewing? Or what do I say when they ask me this? Or what if I can't reach a recruiter? All the common things that people ask me all the time. I just started making videos. So if you go to my channel, you'll see it's pretty much that. It'll make sense when you see my channel.
Of course.
And then there's some interviews on, and I just grew to enjoy making them. So I didn't stop. Right now, I could stop. I probably should stop making videos because I'm busy. Like we're super, super busy right now. But now I just enjoy doing them. And now I've changed. I'm kind of tweaked my, my content to now it's going to be a lot more recruiter driven or corporate driven to help recruiters and hiring managers. So there's going to be a mix of candidate driven content and then hiring manager recruiter content.
I'd like to ask you about some tips for online interviews, I guess, versus in-person interviews.
In person, I think you kind of get thrown in the fire. So that I feel like a lot of times you might be more prepared for that. Whereas I think one of the issues of a video call is a lot of candidates don't know that they're going to be nervous until they do it. And then they let their guard down. I think dress code can be an issue with some of them. And again, this is you know, when I do my YouTube videos, I wear t-shirts and hats and stuff, and I'm very casual. But if I'm interviewing a candidate or talking to a client, I'm going to wear like at least a polo or button-down shirt. But I think sometimes there's a little bit of issue with just a little bit of complacency, and the comfort zone is different. And then optics too, like face-to-face is face-to-face, but you got to think about so much when you're doing video. And just a couple things that people need to know is don't sit with the light behind you, right? People will sit in front of a window and it's like this aura of light around them, or their headroom is awful. It's like this,
yes,
like they have like this much space and their head's all the way in the bottom, or they're looking up and it's going up their nose.
Yes.
One of the good things about the video call, I think, is you can comfortably have your questions and your bullet points in front of you and they won't know. Yeah. So you can have it in front of you. Just don't be staring at it. Obviously, when you're talking to them, they'll know. I can go on I made a video all about these things. I go on. I'll give you one more. The one thing I joked about in the beginning is looking into the camera.
Yes.
Like right now, it looks like I'm talking to you, right? We're talking to the interviewer. I'm looking at the camera. And if I'm looking at you, my eyes are down here. See the difference?
Another big part of seeking a job is questions. Two sides, questions that applicants can anticipate and questions that applicants can ask potential employers.
Let's do questions to anticipate.
Okay.
This is going to be an unorthodox answer. I typically will tell candidates to not over prepare for that, because there's so many questions that can be done, and if you obsess and you get too worked up, you're just not going to be natural. I think it's okay to not know the answer. It's simply okay. If you don't know the answer, just simply say, that's a good question. Can I get back to you on that? Or if I always encourage, bring a pen and paper, jot down the question and go back to it if they stump you. But if you start dwelling on these questions, it's going to drive you mad. But you should definitely don't be prepared for particular questions, but be prepared for STAR.
Okay.
Situation, task, action, result. Situation, task, action, result. That is the most common way that recruiters will ask you questions. I ask it. I was trained on STAR. Almost everybody was trained on STAR. If they're not using it, STAR, it's another acronym. It's basically the same thing.
Okay.
So they're going to ask you, instead of hypotheticals, they're going to ask you situational based questions. That is the most common type of question. So when I tell you don't over prepare for questions, that's why, because they're going to be situationally based. So you should know how to answer in STAR.
And how about any questions that you, on the other side, that you, I guess, hear applicants ask frequently or encourage people to ask potential employers?
These are questions that I feel are very important for a candidate, and it might hurt your chances of getting hired, but they should be asked if you're genuinely serious about it being a fit. You have to make sure you talk salary in the beginning. You have to, and if you're not, you might be going through this wild goose. I mean, I'm telling you, I have family members I tell this to, and then they're in their 4th interview and they're like, I don't even know what the salary is anymore. I'm like, you didn't box them in. You have to talk about that in the beginning. You have to. There's nothing wrong with asking them that at all. So, and there's a lot of and I have again, I'll keep talking about YouTube, but the reason I'm telling you about that is because I don't want to go on a 10-minute rampage about it, because I have a video all about salary and how to talk about it and what to say and how to address it. But it's super important.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. I appreciate your being here and sharing your insight. I can imagine how busy you must be getting our community back to work. There are a lot of people out hiring. I'm seeing it online, job postings, and it's just a matter of finding the right fit.
It is completely crazy, and it's just begun. It's going to continue to be pretty wild.
Good. Well, thank you so much again for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you to Jeremy for sharing her story and so many helpful tips. If you haven't seen our other episodes in this employment series, check them out on our YouTube channel and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our future videos.